Welcome, everyone. It's Friday. Oh my goodness, it is glorious. I can see the stars in the kitchen window. Now, allegedly, at sunset, allegedly, depending on where you are in the world, you will see the quote unquote parade of planets. Ooh, some with the naked eye. Um, so I'm just looking out the window. It is absolutely brilliant to see them. But that being said, today we're going to practice things. What are we going to practice? We're going to practice what we would call, I guess you want to say pivoting. I don't know, but it's repolarizing the self, is what you truly call it. Because you're moving yourself from where you are to where you're going, but always mentally. And so when you find yourself in a situation, in a jam, if you will, in a pickle, if you will, like you want to lose your cool or you want to freak out, you don't know what to do, you've been exhausting your mental faculties trying to figure something out. Here's what you do. You stop and you inhale through the nose and then you exhale through the nose. A couple of times, 3, 4, count them. I don't It's up to you how many times you want to do it. But when you do that, you are telling your body, here's what I want you to do. You see, you were over here, you were fretting. I want you to relax. And here's how you relax. We're going to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. See, you feel better already, don't you? Even if it is just by a little bit that you feel better, that is exactly what you want. Because we sometimes get into the habit of panic, of freaking out. But if you catch it, when you catch it and you redirect yourself to where you want to be and how you want to behave, you are actually beginning to form a new habit of behavior. So you must do it every single time. Why? Because when you do it, the very beginning, remember last night, if you were here, in the lecture, the woman was bedridden with pain. And in the lecture, she wrote Neville this letter and she says, listen, I've been to some of your lectures before. And I was really laying here trying and trying and trying to do what you were saying. But the pain was just too much. And I couldn't do it. But then I get this postcard. And I look at the postcard and I was just swept away by what I saw on the postcard. It reminded me of a happier time in my life. Here's the reminder for that. Even though she could not do it, the desire was to do it. The desire was to practice and to implement what she had learned, but she couldn't. But the desire was there. So, what I'm saying to you today, let the desire for change be there. Because you see, all of the fighting that we do mentally, trying to figure something out. Oh my God, how do I do it? How do I get this? Well, that, don't worry. Listen, I got a testimony for you, but that'll be another day. But just so you can know, you can move from delay to action within mere moments if you do what I suggest for you today. Just allow the desire for change. If you say to yourself, you know what, I have been fighting and I just can't anymore. I'm too tired. I just want to break. I just want to feel better. Right there is the desire. And just don't do anything after that. But simply observe. Simply observe, and you will watch yourself begin to feel better. I'm telling you because I know what I'm talking about. I know because I do it. I did it yesterday. I did it the day before. I'm sure I'll be doing it again. but I'm doing it. That's the point. Just that simple desire to change. Let that be the light for you today. Just the desire, because sometimes that's why you have the power to feel. It's just the desire. Sometimes you don't even have the strength to do or say or feel anything else because you've worn yourself out, right? That's what you've done. So just allow that desire to just be there. And because the desire is there for the better feeling, the better man, I see you. Just because that desire is there, you will begin to feel better. I'm telling you. And when you begin to feel better, just revel in it. Don't do nothing. Just revel in it. That's the first practice. That's the first exercise. The second exercise leads right into, right? You're going to lead right into it from the first one. When you begin to feel better, just say thank you. Because you will have noticed that you felt better, yes? You'll notice. Because you'll begin to feel the tension drain from your body. You'll feel it. If you're paying attention, you'll feel it. And when you feel the tension begin to ebb, to ease off, just say thank you. Naturally, you will say thank you. I didn't have to tell you to say thank you because naturally you will say it because it feels good. It feels good to have the ease. And you say, whew, thank goodness. Oh, thank you. And as you say thank you, just see how long you can stay in it. See how long you can stay in it. And from there, naturally, what will happen is you will either get a call or you will get an idea, but something along the line of your change will be there. It'll just pop up. It'll really and truly, it'll just be there. Just like the woman in her letter said. She said, whew, I couldn't do anything, Neville. But then I got a postcard in the mail. A very good friend of hers sent her a postcard. They didn't even come to see her. They just sent a postcard. And because the image on the postcard was something that she enjoyed, you notice how it was not a coincidence? The desire was there. And the desire brought about a feeling of relief. And then the postcard came to reinforce the relief. Oh, it would have happened anyway? Sure, who knows? But she was the reason why it happened. She had the desire. She felt the relief. And the postcard came to reinforce. You see how it just happens and it looks like it just happens? Here's how it happens on the other direction. You get vexed, you get angry, you get upset, and the whole mood change. And you feel in that mood, huh? And then what happens from the mood? Something comes along because you are in the mood now. You are deep in the mood. And then something happens to reinforce the mood that you are in. The pendulum swings both ways. So it is either your desire is for the peace and tranquility or your desire is for the trouble. Right? Because sometimes we feel as though when we encounter something that we got to commit to that thing, you feel like you got to defend yourself, defend your honor. You feel like you've got to, I am vindicated in doing this. Oh, and you are right. But at what cost? At what cost? Do you think for one moment that someone who's done you wrong got away with it? For real, for real? Oh, jeez. As within, so without. The problem is we're trying to be judge, jury, and executioner all in the same breath. But allow people to be what they are. Because as a man sows, that shall he also reap. When you look at the principles they're showing you every single day, that you don't have to fight, you know. Just select the mood. Because sometimes that's all you have strength for. You don't have strength for anything else. So that's the exercise. That's the first exercise. Just get the decision to feel better. Start there. And from that one simple decision to feel better, the body begins to feel relief. You see, you might not see the chemical reaction, but you know the chemical reaction is there in the body because the body has to respond with what is going on mentally. So mentally, when you just acquiesce, you throw in the towel and say, whew, I can't do anymore. Relief naturally will come about because you're not fighting anymore. And once the relief comes about, you just say thank you because you won't be able to help yourself. You'll say, ooh, that feels better, thanks. Who are you saying thank you to? Whoever initiated the desire. Whoever initiated the desire is who you say thank you to. That would be you, isn't it? So you just say thank you. And allow that feeling of relief to just take you over. And once it takes you over, something else will come along to reinforce the relief that you just initiated. Simple as that. You can do this exercise when you have to get up and go to the washroom at work. You just, as you squat or you stand, depending on which side of the fence you're on, inhale and exhale. Over and over again. Just inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. That's all you, nothing else. And your body will naturally calm itself. And the more you do that, you now create a habit of calm in your life. Because as something arises, you will show your body how to respond. In other words, you will show your body how to cope. So if you show it the inhale and exhale over and over and over again, your body will naturally cope with stress in a way that keeps you calm so that the thing that shows up is the solution. And you will be aware of the solution when it shows up. See? But here's the part that gets us. We don't take that time to stop before we commit to the emotion. Sometimes we just go right on into the emotion and let it take us over. But if you catch yourself and break that pattern, so you know if something happens, you freak out and you act. Something happens, you freak out and you act. Something happens, you freak out and you act. Oh, there's a habit. So every time something happens, you freak out and you act. But if you now, something happens and you breathe, you will act differently. Something happens and you breathe, you will act differently. Something happens, you breathe, you will act differently. What are you doing? Reprogramming yourself deliberately. So this is an exercise in being deliberate. It is an exercise in being deliberate. Because all the other times that we teach ourselves how to cope with something, we just do it by way of emotion, by reflex, without thought. And the principles tell you at all times, you must be aware of who you say you are. So to come into the awareness of who you say you are, you have to stop what you're doing as it is happening right in the midst of it. I trust it makes sense for you today. Because another exercise that we do, if you get a break and you're like me and it's warm enough, I go out to the car and I eat my lunch in the car. And I just, especially if the sun is coming through the window, I just turn my face to the sun and just sit there. Inhale and exhale. That's it. That inhale and exhale is not just an act of breathing. The inhale and exhale is not just an act of breathing. How one inhales and exhales determines how the body responds. And how the body responds, well, that's a make or break situation sometimes. So if you take the time to just breathe, you know, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, anyway, I digress. Just breathe. And literally inside your body, you will release endorphins. Because when you're stressed now, you release the adrenaline. And when in the presence of adrenaline, because the body should either be running or fighting, you do not digest food. There's no power going to digestion. It has been rerouted to the four limbs, whether you're going to run away or fight. So in the presence of adrenaline, you are either running or fighting. But if you breathe, you dissipate that release of adrenaline. When you dissipate the release of the adrenaline, now you can eat and digest your food. So you see, something as within, so without is always happening. As within, so without. I want you to be aware of what you are doing. So when you eat and you are angry, this is where the food sitting in your stomach like a rock. And you feel bloated and upset and now you're uncomfortable. See, you're not uncomfortable because somebody trying to punish you. You're uncomfortable because the mind is unsettled. So the inhale and the exhale helps the mind to settle so that you can rest and digest. So now you should be able to comprehend, meaning have a deeper understanding of what you do to your body as you test what I just told you. Right? It just happens naturally. Start with the desire. If you say you have a headache, because I had one yesterday, let me tell you. Ooh, I had a headache yesterday. Because I was stressed. Angela, you were stressed, but don't you know the principles? Yes, of course I know the principles. But when you're stressed, you don't stop to think. You just have one thing in mind, well, two, run away or fight when you're stressed. So as I was driving with this headache, I said, oh, I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. And in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, the headache really abated. And I noticed and I said, oh, well, thanks. This feels nice. This is much better. Yes, this is much better. And the tension left my belly, my shoulders. And I just began to relax. And by the time I got home, I had a conversation with a lovely person. You wouldn't believe how things just unfolded. But again, that's another day. I'll tell you all about that. But it just seemed like this, ah, it really and truly just seemed like that. And I was like, what? I'd been fighting to do this forever, but again, another day I'll tell you. But all of those things unfolded because of one decision. And then in the lecture, I saw myself when the woman started to write her letter to Neville. I was like, but wait, I'm thinking to myself in the back of my head, oh my God, that's exactly what I did. All I had was a desire. So the exercise, again, whatever the situation is, and we tend to lean towards the negative of situations because humanity is as it is. We want to fret, we get upset, we get angry. Those are natural responses. They are. Somebody mash your bunions in a crowded bus, whew, you gonna want to slap somebody, let me tell you. It's natural. But catch yourself and be deliberate. You want to holler? You want to fuss and fight? You want to complain? Do you? Or do you want some semblance of relief? Because when you bring the relief, the body responds to the relief. And when it responds to the relief, something on the outside happens. You will encounter something or someone that reinforces the relief that you just initiated. So watch yourself as you do it today. So if you're worried, it doesn't matter what you're worried about. It doesn't matter. Not that it's not valid that you're worried. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're worried, it doesn't matter what you're worried about. If you implement this one thing, you will open up the doorway for the solution. Because the more you stress, you are leaning against the door with everything you have in you, and the solution is on the other side of that door, but you're pushing it and holding it closed because you haven't allowed yourself to recognize that the solution is there. So you're pushing against it. But if you relax, the door does this. It opens. Just needs a little bit of oil on the hinges, but that door opens and out pops your solution. Where's been the solution? Behind that door this whole time that you are leaning against because you're resisting it based upon your mental mood or your mental attitude. So the exercise is to stop when you feel this thing begin to creep up on you. Whether it be anger, whether it be frustration, whether it be worry, whether it be fear. Whenever you feel it begin to creep up on you, stop and inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. If you got to count 10 times, do it. You got to count 30 times, do it. Shoot, you might just got to count 2 times, do it. And you will naturally feel your body relax and come to a place of ease. And when it does and you feel it, just say thanks. Because that's what you wanted, right? You got what you wanted, so say thank you. Manners maketh man, does it not? But I digress. And after you say thank you, because that's where true gratitude emerges, naturally you will just say thank you. So when that gratitude emerges from your mouth because it was in your bosom, you will either get an idea that reinforces the freedom from the door behind in the solution, or somebody gonna send something, somebody gonna say something that reinforces your ease. And then what do? Make sure you practice it every moment that this other thing wants to arise. Because really what's happened is you've just trained yourself. Yep. You've just trained yourself to respond in a particular way. You didn't know that that's what you were doing because we didn't know how to be deliberate. But today, with this practice of deliberate behavior, you will begin to see yourself, and you will deliberately change your situation, thereby opening the door for your solutions that have seemed like they've been locked away. So practice today, my beautiful friends. Practice today. But I told you exactly what happens to your body physiologically when you do it. And it's funny, as I was on Instagram this morning, because, um, I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he was talking. It's funny that he would say it. He said he was faced with two choices after his major incident. He was run over and his spine was fractured in about 6 different places. So he couldn't walk. And so he said, well, I was laying in a hospital bed for 10 weeks with nothing better to do, so I engaged my mind. That's what he did. And I do believe he was a chiropractor. So he knew spinal anatomy. So in his imagination, all he did was repair it. That's all he did in his mind's eye for 10 weeks, because he couldn't walk anywhere. He was just bedridden. And was he in traction, where they turn you, you're strapped down and they just turn you because he couldn't do anything else? So the whole point of that story to tell you is, when you've gone as far as you can go, the only thing left for you to do is to engage the mind. So the encouragement for us today is to always start with the mind, because that's where you're going to end up anyway. So you might as well start there. You save yourself a whole lot of time. But you see, when we don't know to start there, cause and effect brings us there. So I'm saying to you, be the cause instead of being caused by something. Be the cause of your change by going within to the mind's eye and beginning to experience in your imagination what you would be doing in the world on the outside. And so for him, all he did was tinker mentally with his spine until such time he could walk. And they told him he would never walk again. But remember what the lecturer said last night? With the senses, we have to see what we see. But in the imagination, we see what we want to see. I'm going to say it to you again. With the senses, we see what we have to see. Because the eyes will tell you, well, that's orange, that's yellow, that's green. You have to see it. But with the imagination, you see what you want to see. Because you know that if you see what you want to see within the imagination, your senses will confirm what you have to see. So thereby you're practicing the principle of correspondence. As within, so without. So you see how important that exercise is? That exercise prevents us from coming up against cause and effect. And every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. So start where you should start, which is always within the imagination. You got a problem? What do you want the solution to be? Because the solution is there. You just have to see it. Every problem has the seed of a solution. You're barefoot, that's the problem, but then the solution is shoes. Well, the feet are the clue. You're hungry is the problem, well then feed yourself is the solution. You can't be hungry and say diamonds are forever, because diamonds don't go with food. They don't go with hunger. They're not the same. As within, so without. So if you have a problem, identify your problem. And once you identify it, breathe. The solution will be there for you because it's not hidden. So that is why that exercise in being deliberate is very important. I think you understand the point that I'm making today. I'm sure you get it. If you don't, well, my DMs are always open and I'll send you a voice note to explain it again. Don't fret. But this morning, when you hear the chime, you won't get bird song because he was already singing early. Oh, yes, he was. And he got kisses already too, don't fret. But he was singing. When you hear the chime this morning, make a decision within yourself. You see, we've always acted one way. We've always acted one way, thereby reliving the same solution every day. But make a determination today that you will be deliberate. Deliberately, you will observe yourself. And when you see your problem, you say, I see the solution. And remember, your senses are telling you, but this problem. Your eyes are telling you this problem. Your ears are hearing this problem. But the imagination says, what you want? The imagination says, what do you want? And within the imagination, you see or hear or know what you want. And then the imagination says, oh, well, tell me more. And you then begin to experience in imagination what you would be doing. Yeah? And then it feels a particular way, does it not? And then you just revel in that feeling. Why? The feeling emerges as a confirmation that you believe what you just said. Well, if you're doing something and you get a feeling of, I don't think that's going to work, you get the feeling of doubt. That feeling of doubt did not arise because you were bored. It arose because the thing in your mind you don't believe. That's where doubt came from, as an effect. But if the thing in your mind's eye, you say, hallelujah, you say, yes, I believe that to be true. Well, then the accompanying feeling will confirm for you always what you hold to be true, what you believe. But Angela, how do I get myself from doubting to believing? Go back in your mind's eye and find a feeling of belief. Well, you already believe something. You already know what belief feels like. So go back in your mind's eye, and when you catch the feeling of, oh, I believe that, now you believe. So you know what the feeling of belief feels like. You also know what the feeling of doubt feels like. You always know what something feels like. Yes, you do. We do. Because you know if I put too much pepper in your food, you're going to be like, that burns, Angela. Because you know what that feels like when something is too spicy. You also know what something is like when it's too bland. We have memories of things. So if you choose to go backwards into the memory, make it a memory that you would like to recreate, because that's what happens when you go back and you pull from the past. You re-experience it. But you see, that's a quick and easy way. But the way to be deliberate is to go forward in the imagination and tell it what you want it to be. So I trust that that makes some sense to you today and that you will test it out. Test yourself. What you're feeling in that moment. Don't just give in to the feeling. Examine it. Take a break and examine it. And how do you examine it? Inhale and exhale through the nose for as many times as you want. And you will feel the body begin to relax. And as it begins to relax, and you feel that ease that happens, something on the outside will show up to say, oh, well, look at that. I was just thinking of relief. And you will get the corresponding experience. or you will get the coincidental experience. Coincidence, you say? I thought there weren't any. There are no coincidences. The coincidence is the external experience that corresponds to the internal thought or feeling. It is correspondence. Let's get the chime. Just make a simple commitment. And that commitment is to deliberately test yourself. I'll shout everybody out when we're done to chime. Let us welcome everyone to the space this morning. Hello, Cyber, TG Gamer, the better man. I see you here on YouTube. I do. It's good to see you. Twitter, Koya, and then these are just symbols. I don't speak that language, but I see you nonetheless. Welcome to the space. And Melba, Melba, darling, welcome. Fanbase, who is kicking it with us today? Hello. The ever lovely Miss McQueen. Ray Ray the hand. Hi, sweet darling. Casey, hello, dearest. Thick. And look, it's Farid. You know what? Farid, or Farid, I guess you could say, because it reminds me of how you say it in either patois or Imagine, but I digress. Welcome to the space, dearest. Listen, thank you all for being here on this glorious Friday. Go forth into the world and apply. There's no sense in hearing. You do not gorge yourself on the word. You remain spiritually fit by applying the word. Yes? This is what it is. We practice day in and day out, and I'm not telling you things that I don't do. I have to practice because I have to be able to bring receipts. But you know how it is, right? Because everybody wants to say, well, where's your evidence? So I got to live the life, you know? I got to pull a Barry White and practice what I preach. Anywho, countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I will see you tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Fanbase, if you want to fall asleep with us. Much love to each and every one of you. Twitter is closed.